Child. But the first thing I want to do is read you a hilarious story. But we better pray before we laugh, huh? Wait till everybody gets in. I'm getting all the disappointed people back who couldn't fit in their session. So come in, put a smile on your face, pretend like you wanted to be here. Okay. Let's pray. Dear Lord, I believe with all my heart that our homes are really in need. I believe that as parents, many of us feel very insecure. And with our children, we feel that we desperately need some direction. And I pray that today, through your word, that you would give me wisdom on how to present it, to be a help to the ladies in here so that they could help their children to grow up and be wise and not be foolish children. Guide everything that's said and done right now in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, do you know that children are not born good? I'm assuming most of you have children or you will someday. Children are born selfish. You know, I have 4 children. Yesterday I talked about having 5 kids when I got home. I really had 6 because I babysit 2 also, so I had 6 kids yesterday. But I have 4 children, and none of them cared when they woke me up in the middle of the night because they were hungry. They're selfish. They didn't care if I was tired. They cared that they were hungry. Children are born with no self-control. When do they want what they want? Now. Before now. They have no self-control. Children are dirty. Do you know that? They eat things off the floor. They drink the toilet water. How many of you potty trained someone? Do they care that their pants are full of whatever? No. You know? How many of you have ever had a child take his diaper off in a crib when it was not clean? They have fun. They're quiet, just play, and you think, wow, my child has finally learned to be content. And you go in and you see. I have a story to read to you. This is a true story. I read this story to my husband. He said, "What a dumb man." So I thought you might enjoy the story about this dumb man. Years ago, while I was pastoring a small country, I better hold this like this. Okay, you look like intelligent women. You could sit and listen to me read a few pages, right? Okay, don't fall asleep. Years ago, while I was pastoring a small country church, my wife called me at my office and said, "Honey, come quick. The pasture is on fire." We lived on a 40-acre farm. I raised pigs, calves, chickens, and sold hay to feed our small family and supplement my $75 per week salary. I say I because my wife at that time was still a Yankee with little farm life experience. On that farm outside in the yard was a large, tall wire basket that we burned trash in. When unburned trash filled it up, I would take it to the back 40 and put it in a ditch. On this particular breezy, hot August day, Mary Joyce had lit some trash on fire in that outside basket. A puff of wind came up and blew a small piece of flaming paper into the uncut hay field that adjoined our yard. The dry grass ignited instantly. She panicked. She ran for the house. She picked up the phone. She dialed my number. When I answered, she screamed, "The pasture is on fire!" I raced home just as fast as I could. When I got there, my sweet little Yankee, no farm experience wife was beating that fire with a pitchfork. Have you ever beaten a fire with a pitchfork? Nothing happens. I don't think you can beat a fire out with a pitchfork. The prongs are too little in diameter and spaced too far apart. Nevertheless, she was flailing away at that fire for all she was worth. In the meantime, the flames continued to rage out of control. You ask, "What did you do, preacher?" I'm glad you asked. I was very level-headed. I knew instantly what to do in that situation. So what did you do, preacher? I'm glad you asked again. Fires don't faze me. I have been in this situation before. My cousin Jimmy and I had started mini grass fires 35 years earlier. So what did you do, preacher? I'm glad you asked again because I am losing my train of thought. This is what I did. I very calmly but quickly hooked 2 lengths of hose together. I then connected them to the outside faucet. I then turned the water on while dragging the end of that hose across the yard into the pasture. It was no problem squirting that fire out. I did not panic. I did not run in circles. I did not make matters worse. I solved the problem. I seldom get a chance to lecture my wife on her wrongdoings. She is a very good Christian, but this was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. First of all, Mary, you shouldn't have been burning trash on a hot, breezy day. Secondly, that pitchfork was a dumb idea. Thirdly, she interrupted me and said, "You're my hero. You're so smart and so level-headed and so strong." I was starting to agree with everything she was saying. I was nodding my head up and down over these truthful statements. Nodding my head up and down, when she said, "And you will watch the kids for me while I go shopping, won't you?" My head was still going up and down. I couldn't stop it in time. Somehow the macho, heroic, level-headed, fighting fire champion of the day had been suckered into babysitting. She was gone in a flash before I knew what had happened. It seemed like days. I looked at my watch only to calculate she had been gone for just 1 hour. Don't get me wrong, I love kids. I just hate being alone with them. After 5 minutes, I run out of goofy faces and weird noises. Then I smelled something. A strange odor, similar to Gerber peas and beef stew, permeated the air of our small 4-room Cracker Jack farmhouse. It became unthinkable, and it became stronger and more nauseating. The unthinkable, the unforeseen, the unnerving thing had happened. My son had a dirty diaper. What would I do? Dear Lord, please send my wife home. I looked out the window. God did not answer my prayer. She was nowhere in sight. The smell was becoming rank. I was getting physically sick. What should I do? I got an idea. Change the diaper. What an idea! I think it will work. Boy, will she be proud of me. Put out a world record fire and change a dirty diaper all in 1 day. I'll get biscuits and gravy for a week. Okay, easy now, Brian. Remember all those prenatal classes your wife attended? Remember that contemporary living public high school class you skipped out of? You can do this. Mind over matter, the power of positive thinking. Place child on table. Check. Have all necessary items in easy reach. Check. Take a deep breath. Deeper. Now hold it, and as fast as you can, undo the adhesive straps. Place dirty diaper into pail. Grab handy wipe. Finish cleaning bottom. Throw handy wipe into the pail. Clinch top of bag in pail closed. Exhale. I did it. No problem. I'm a pro. I then doused his bottom with some baby powder, grabbed his ankles, cocked his knees toward his face, leaned over, and went to insert the new pamper under his bottom. I'm not sure who it was that first discovered the physical disorder of explosive diarrhea. But I certainly hope they did not experience what I experienced that day. As I was leaning over, ready to place that new pamper under my son's freshly clean, fragrant-smelling bottom, the unforgettable happened. Boom. He shot me right in the face. It was in my hair, on my glasses, up my nose, and on my lips. It was on the wall, on my arms, my clothes, the changing table, and the floor. What was I going to do? I was at my wit's end. Cries of desperation, anxiety, and panic rang out from my soul as that little boy began to laugh. I ran for the kitchen with slimy child in hand. I thought, if I could just make it to the kitchen sink, I'll place the boy in the sink and use the sprayer at the back of the sink to spray him and me. It wasn't a new tablecloth. It wasn't a new table, but it was a new tablecloth that would make the old table look like we had a new table. And as I hurried across our linoleum floor with child suspended at arm's length, my son, whom I thought was a single shot, turned into a double barrel. Boom! He did it again, this time on the corner of the kitchen table. It dripped onto that linoleum floor. I changed direction. Left turn and into the living room. We ran. He was laughing. I was crying. His greenish-brown torso was getting so slick, I couldn't hold on much longer. We had new throws over our old living room furniture to make people think we had new furniture. I thought, if I could roll this child up in one of those throws, then I'll be able to handle him. As we blindly stumbled through the living room, the boy went into full auto. Boom! This time on the new sofa throw and dribbling onto the carpet. I was delirious. When would it stop? I didn't know what to do. Why was this happening to me? There was one room left. The bedroom. Perhaps the clean white sheet on the bed could somehow solve this problem. I was willing to try anything. I couldn't take it much longer. As we rolled on the bed, my son dispensed the last of his arsenal. The whole house was a mess. It was awful, absolutely the worst day of fatherhood I have ever experienced. When Mary came home, driving up our long gravel country lane, she saw me and my son in the yard. Remember the 2 lengths of hose I squirted the fire out with earlier that day? Well, I was squirting my son, rolling him over and over in the grass with that same water hose. My beautiful little Yankee bride was about to turn into a country girl. Before the car stopped, I read her lips through the windshield. My baby! With that, she opened the door, ran from the car, hurdled the cyclone fence, and screamed, "You're going to kill him!" I said, "I'm trying to, Mary, but the boy just won't die." What happened? She yelled. Just open the door to that house and take one whiff. I yelled back. He boomed on the changing table, boomed in the kitchen, boomed on the living room, boomed in the bedroom. My wife, with child held to her heart as if to protect him from me, looked me straight in the eyes and said, "Why didn't you just sit him on the commode?" The thought had never entered my mind. But anyway, to stress the point, children are not born good. They're selfish. They have no self-control. They're dirty. They have no morals. Do you know children will take something that's not theirs? Oh, the other day I worked in our nursery, and every child was Josiah's age. That's that age, between the age of about 12 months to 2 years old. They're all learning to share. They don't share anything. In fact, whatever toy the other kid has, they want, and they're always pulling it from each other, and you want to kill them all. And I'll sit there and think, all right, I'm not going to do anything else but watch these kids, and I'm going to find out who the rat is. Because someone's always crying because someone's taken their toy, and if you didn't see it, you don't know who had the toy first. And you sit there and you find out they're all the rat. They all do it to each other. There's no bad one. They're all the same. So they steal. They have no morals, and they're lazy by nature. Proverbs 22:15 puts it this way. Foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction shall drive it far from him. Every time a child performs a foolish act and you correct him, you're driving foolishness from him. The biggest problem I see in parents is they don't recognize foolishness in their children. We get this attitude as, oh, they're just babies. Oh, they're just little. Proverbs 29:15 says, "The rod and reproof give wisdom, but a child left to himself will bring his mother to shame." If you do not spank your child, they will bring you to shame. If you do not correct and reprove your child, they will bring you to shame. The Bible says that they will. You can't leave them alone and hope they'll grow out of it. You grow them out of it. Okay? I'm going to give you 8 ways to drive foolishness out of your child's heart. I have done this before. Everything I ever do at the top of the page always has the date, where I was, who I spoke to, and it always has it. This I found, and I don't know when I did this, who I told it to. So if it was you, you're going to get it again. Because I thought and prayed and thought and prayed, and I really believe God wanted me to do this today. Number 1, if you want to drive foolishness out of your child's heart, train your child to be teachable. Proverbs 1:7 says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction." If you do not want your child to be a fool, you have to teach them, train them to be teachable. Don't raise a child that hates to be told what to do. A fool hates to be told what to do. Make them look, this is how you do that. Here's some ideas of things you can do that will train your child to be teachable. Make them look at you when you speak to them. Do not let a child look away from you when you're instructing them. And also, you're breaking their will when you do that. You're putting a form of submission into their heart. Make them look at you when you speak to them. Make sure you have their attention when you instruct them. Make sure they always answer yes or no, ma'am, when you instruct them. They need to always answer you. Never let them talk back or give excuses. Don't let a child say, "Yes, ma'am, but." No buts. Never a but. My children, all of them have done this, and there's an age they do this. They always have a reason. They always have an excuse. Or they get to this age where they say, "Yes, ma'am, I know that." "Oh, yes, I know." And I tell them, "No, that's not a proper answer. Your answer should be, 'Yes, ma'am.' If you know it already, that's good, that's okay. But you don't have to say it. You just simply have to say, 'Yes, ma'am,' or 'Yes, sir,' or 'No, ma'am,' or 'No, sir.' Teach them, train them to be teachable. A child that says, I know that," is not being teachable. See, they know it all already. So you don't let them get that attitude. Show them from the very beginning that is a wrong response. Teach them that adults know more than they do. Now you say, all adults don't know more. Well, then that's your problem, because you shouldn't have them under the authority of adults that don't know more than they do. Children think they know much more than they do. Like the little boy who was asked after his first day of school, "What did you learn at school today, Johnny?" And he said, "Not enough. I got to go back tomorrow." So one of the things you need to do is, because you want your child to grow up trusting authority, be very careful what authority you put them under. Very careful. That's why I could never, never, never have my child in a public school. Because I want my child to grow up respecting authority, and I don't believe there are very many public school teachers who I could tell them to respect. A person who has no love for God and no room for God in their life is not someone I want to influence my child 8 hours a day for 5 days a week. So teach them that adults know more than they do. Never let them talk disrespectful about an adult or to an adult. Never. One of my children came home one day and they said something about somebody, an adult, and I could tell it was probably something kids were saying. Kids at school were saying. It was one of those things they were talking about, and it was not right. It was not respectful. It was very disrespectful. And I said, "No, that is not right. You are never to talk about a teacher or an adult like that, ever. And if you're around other people who are talking that way, you leave, because that is not right." Be very careful and do not let your children talk disrespectful about other adults. Let them hear you tell things that you've learned from your leaders. Our children will do much more of they will live much more of what we live than what we say. Many times as parents, we're telling our children, "Well, you need to do right, and you need to obey, and you need to do this," and they see us be a rebel all the time to our authorities. They know Daddy wants it one way and see Mama do it the other way, and then you tell them to obey their school teacher. You will get more out of what you live. You will teach more by what you live than what you say. Number 2, teach your child to hate sin. Proverbs 10:23. It is a sport to a fool to do mischief. And Proverbs 14:9. Fools make a mock at sin. Don't raise a child who thinks it's funny to do wrong. Teach your child to hate sin. These are some of the ways you can do that. I gotta see what time I'm supposed to stop here. Ooh, okay. Okay, teach your child to hate sin. One of the ways you do that is sin must always hurt them. Make sure that sin always hurts your child. Punish all sin with a punishment so bad that it's not worth the pleasure of committing the sin. If you have a baby and they are learning there are things in the home they cannot touch, it is fun for them to touch those things. They want to touch those things. It is an instinct within them. They're learning. That's a part of their learning. But we teach our children self-control. And you cannot do everything you want to do. You cannot do everything your instincts tell you to do. So you have a home of things that your child, so you do not move everything away. You leave it where it is, unless it's really, really valuable. I've never had anything really, really valuable, so I never had to worry about that. But you leave it there, and then when baby touches what they shouldn't touch, you take their little precious, chubby little hand, and you change colors. You change the color of their hand. It used to be this nice flesh color, and then you administer a discipline that changes it to bright red. And all of a sudden, the next time that child looks at that object, they'll think, I don't like that. That's not a good thing to touch. It changes the color of my hand, and it hurts me when I touch that. Make the sin cost them more than the pleasure. Just saying, no, Johnny, no, don't touch it. And he smiles at you and goes back and touches it. He don't care what you think. You think your kids care what you think? Oh, you hurt mommy's feelings. They don't care. They care when you hurt them. That gets their attention. Crying or throwing a fit. If a child is crying or throwing a fit, usually they're doing that because they want some attention, right? Okay, put them in their room all by themselves and ignore them. Aha. Finally, they realize, you know what? This is awful. This is not worth it. When I cry and throw a fit, I get put alone. I don't think I'll cry and throw a fit anymore. And be consistent. Go into a place where they should not go. You have older children. This would be more for teenage or children that can go without you. Going to a place they should not go, well, if my child went to a place they could not go, they would not go anywhere without me for a very long, long time. They would go with me everywhere. They would sit outside the bathroom door when I went to the restroom. They would be with me everywhere for a long time if they went somewhere they should not go. See, that would make it, the fun that they experienced going to that place would be dulled by the punishment. It would have cost them too much. Josiah, he's so much younger than my other children, and he is a baby. So my girls have, I have 2 girls in one room, and girls are the biggest junk collectors of. I have a son. His room is so neat. His shoes are lined up neat. His bed is neat. I mean, he's just that kind of kid. He's really neat and orderly. His books are all on the shelf with the binding the right way, with all the words going the right way. I mean, he's just real neat. My girls, I don't know what happened, but my girls they have so much stuff in their room. It's and once a week overall, we have to do that room to get it all in order again. But when Josiah gets in that room, it's even worse because everything he can find is out of place. And he gets into all kinds of stuff. So for a while, when he was real little, I kept their door closed because I couldn't keep an eye on him all the time. Then all of a sudden, I realized this child is too old for that door to be closed. He needs to know you cannot go in that room. So I leave the door open now. And there's this invisible line in the doorway. And he knows if he goes over that invisible line, it won't be fun. And he knows that because we've experienced it several times. He's been told, no, you cannot go in that room. So then when he goes in, I know he's going to go in there. I know he is. So I sit and wait. And I know it's just a matter of time, and I will find him in there. So I go get him and spank his little bottom and take him back out. And now, you know what? He doesn't even want to go in that room. All those fun things in there don't mean it. They are not tempting to him anymore because the sin cost him too much. But never laugh at or call rebellion cute. You know, when kids are little, a lot of things they do are cute, but the result of it, the root cause of it, is not cute. Teach them that their sin hurts others. Teach them, first of all, their sin will hurt them. Now teach them that their sin hurts others. If a child damages something or breaks something, they should have to pay for and replace it. I've told this story before. One of our children, in school, they had jobs. And one of this child's job was they were the bathroom monitor. So their job was, after everyone used the bathroom, to go in and clean the bathroom up. Now, this is one of my children that loves jobs. This child, everything, if anything needs done at home, this child wants to do it. It's just that this child is the one who is always concerned about if everyone has everything. This child is like a little mother. And so this child's job was all she did was talk about this wonderful job she had. She was so excited that she had this job. Well, she decided that this job was so fun, it would be even more fun if people would mess up the bathroom a little more. Because it wasn't taking her very long to clean it up. So she got her friends to make a really big mess in the bathroom. You know, they took wet paper towels and threw them against the walls, and they just made a mess, and then she would clean it up, because that was her job. Now, you don't know what kids are thinking, I don't know, but I guess she felt like since she was going to clean it up, they could mess it up. Well, she found out that wasn't very wise thinking. So, of course, she got lots of demerits at school for doing all of that, and the other girls did too, but she was the instigator. You know, I always wanted my children to grow up and be leaders, but that wasn't exactly what I had in mind. But she was the instigator, so this child, it's a girl, it's one of my daughters, many things happened because of this. And one of the things happened is she gets an allowance every week, and she had to save her allowance week after week after week. While everyone else would go to the store and buy all the fun things with their money that they wanted to, she couldn't. She did without, because she had to give her allowance to the church to help pay for the paper products that they wasted when they dirtied the bathroom. So she took her bag of change to the office and told them what it was for, that she had to pay back the paper products that she wasted. See, I wanted her to know that she cost somebody else something. She wasted God's money by making that mess in that bathroom. So teach them that their sin hurts others. It wasn't just her, it was someone else she affected. Another thing is they should always write notes of apology or apologize in person to anyone that was affected. That same daughter had to write a note to every parent of every child that was involved in that problem, asking forgiveness of that parent for leading their child to do something wrong, and asking for permission to still be their child's friend. I want her to know that she hurts other people. Because of her influence there, she caused some people girls to do some things they would not have done without her help, and she hurt some parents, because no parent likes to know their child got in trouble at school. Another one of our daughters, it's always my daughters. Maybe my son will do something wrong someday, but another one of my daughters, I know my younger son's going to. I could just tell you now. I know his personality. But one of the guys at school had done his homework, but he couldn't find it. It was time to turn homework in. And he did his homework, and she had done hers, and he said, I can't find my homework. My parents are going to kill me. I can't find it. Can I copy your homework real quick and turn it in? I did my homework. I just need to turn something in. So she said, sure, you can, no problem. Well, these kids are not very good cheaters. They sit right next to each other, so of course their papers are one right on top of the other. He copied her homework word for word, mistakes and all. So, when the teacher is correcting the papers, they kind of get this, and they were questions that had to take thought, and he had the same thoughts as she did. How coincidental, But anyway, they got caught. Now, we have a rule in our handbook about cheating, which was what he did. But we do not have a rule in our handbook about letting someone cheat off of you. So when the teacher called me about this, they said, we're not real sure what to do. And I said, Well, give her the same exact punishment as you do the cheater. And what's really bad is as soon as they turned all those papers in, he found his homework. Crazy kids. But anyway, so I made sure that because of my softness of my heart, I'm not thinking, well, my daughter did that. She did her homework, so she didn't cheat me. She just did that because she had compassion and she felt sorry for this other kid who just made a mistake and she's trying to help him out. We get thinking really dumb sometimes. I wanted her to know that was wrong, and I wanted her to pay for it because I don't want it to happen in a bigger area in her life. And so I said, make sure she gets the same punishment as a cheater. That was suspension from school. I mean, it was a really big problem. But anyway, and she had to write a note to that person's parents, because if she would have said no, neither one of them would have got in trouble, and he would have found his homework in a few minutes. I explained all that. She had to write a note to the parents of that child. She had to write a note to the person who had to fill out the detention slip, or whatever we call those things, the parent notification slip. She had to write a note to every single person that was affected by that wrong. Number 3, never, never, never want a lesser punishment for them. That's what I just talked about. When someone else is doing the punishment, always want the worst punishment for them. It will be better for them in the end. And don't major on the wrong form of punishment, but on the reason the punishment was given. Do you know what? If my child were to come home and say, do you know what my teacher did? They threw a pencil at me, or they whacked me with a ruler, or whatever. I'm not going to say, I can't believe teachers are out of control. What were you doing? What is your problem? Why are these things happening to you? Maybe you better look at yourself and quit judging your teacher and solve the problem. So don't major on the wrong form of discipline. Major on the reason the discipline was administered. And then, if there is a real problem, and there will be someday, your child should never know that you think it's a problem. But you go privately, without anyone knowing, to whoever's in charge. You explain the situation. You make sure they know your child knows nothing about how you feel about it, that you're loyal, and your child knows you're loyal, and just let someone in charge know what happened, and then leave it. It's none of your business how the person in charge deals with it or handles it. Just leave it there. Punish wrong as soon as possible. Ecclesiastes 8:11 says, because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, therefore the heart of sons of men is fully set in them to do evil. Take care of the problem now, immediately, every time, and be consistent. One of the ways you can do that is have set punishments for set sin or set disobedience. And one of the ways you do that is go to godly people who have good children and ask them, what would you do if this happened? What would you do if this happened? And get set punishments in your mind so that when something happens, you know instantly what to do. A lot of times something happens and we think, I know what we should do about this. I wonder how we should handle this. Try to foresee things and find out ahead of time so as soon as it happens, you know what to do. You know what the best thing to do is. Okay. Another thing to do is teach them to love and respect authority. Proverbs 15:20, a foolish man despiseth his mother. Don't raise a child who treats you like dirt. Do you know if your child treats you bad and with disrespect and treats you like dirt when they're 1.5 and 2 and 3, they don't grow out of it? They will still treat you that way when they're older. One of the ways you teach your child to have respect for you is you treat them with respect. Many parents are so disrespectful to their children. You should never yell at or scream at a child. That's disrespectful to them. That's treating them with disrespect. Now, I don't mean you don't get pretty firm and you raise your voice just a little. There is time for that. To say, what are you doing? I don't understand. Do you have a problem? I think we better sit down and talk about this. There are times for some firm words. But not in public, but private. But to yell and scream and just be out of control, that child loses all respect for you because you treat them with disrespect. Never allow mean, teasing, or cutting down. Instruct them with dignity and respect. I saw a lady in the grocery store the other day, and she had a teenage daughter with her. And I thought, her daughter was walking, and she said, "You're in the way. You're just in people's way. Get out of the way. Come over here by me. You're just always in the way." And she was just reprimanding her teenage daughter in front of everybody and just treating her, talking. I hear more parents talk mean to their children. Being a good disciplinarian is not treating your child like dirt and talking mean to them. You should have rules. You should have things you've taught them, and you should be able to just look at them and say, "I think you better change." Okay. And then they ought to change. But you do that at home. In public, you don't treat your child with disrespect. And teach them to show others respect. And they should answer politely. They should listen when they're spoken to. They should be grateful to those who serve them. They should hold doors and carry things for ladies. They should give up chairs for adults. I'm going a little fast because I'm running out of time here. But teach them to respect authority. And the best way to do this is if you practice at home, then you don't have to reprimand them in public. But what happens is we ignore them at home. We don't spend our time training our children at home. We're so busy doing whatever else we're doing. Then we get in public and they embarrass us, and then we have to correct them in front of everybody. And that is not good. Your children should not have to be told how to act in front of other people. And sometimes they do something and you think, "I can't believe they did that." It would almost be better to let it go, and then when you get home that day or the next day, cover it, than to do it in front of other people, unless it's really, really bad and you have to do something. Teach them to be content. Proverbs 17:24 says, "The eyes of a fool are in the ends of the earth." Don't raise a child who's never happy with what he has. One of the ways you do this is make sure his needs are met, that he has food, warm clothing, and love. But another way to do this is teach them, make them eat what is served to them. I know households who cook one dinner for Dad, cook another dinner for Johnny, and cook another dinner for Susie, because they all like something different. That's not teaching your child to be content. Make them finish what they start. Don't let a child start this little thing and then get tired of it, and start this little thing and get tired of it. Do you know there is something to be said for accomplishment? And many of us rob our child of that feeling of accomplishment because we don't make them finish what they start. There's something neat about hating something that you're doing and finishing it and go, "I did it. It's done." It's such a good thing to give your child. Teach them to amuse themselves with creating rather than giving. Rather than getting, I'm sorry. Buy them toys that will take time. Buy them things that they could, models that they can make, or craft. My girls do a lot of, they could do a little needlework, or they could do painting or coloring or things like that that will be a creative, will click the creativity in them. Don't let your children watch commercials. We don't even watch TV, so the only thing that our TV is used for are videos. I think that, I don't know, we just don't watch TV. Once in a while we might watch a sports event on TV, and then we turn the commercials off. But commercials cause covetousness. You shouldn't watch commercials. Catalogs, be careful about what kind of catalogs you have around your house. Most catalogs aren't decent anyway. When I get a JCPenney catalog, I put it under my bed. It's like the Playboy, you got to hide it, because it's got worse pictures in there than most Playboys did when I was growing up. And you have to go through and rip out all the pages that are indecent before anyone could look at it. So make them earn what they get. Make them earn what they get. Okay, and okay. I'm going to have to stop. I'll just tell you the other points, but I won't have time to go over them. Another point is teach them to control their tongue. Proverbs 18:6-7. A fool's lips enter into contentions, his mouth calleth for strokes. A fool's mouth is his destruction, and his lips are the snare of his soul. Teach them to control their tongue. Don't raise a child that says things that make you want to slap his face. One of the things you do is you stop complaining and arguing. No complaining, no arguing. Don't stop it. Don't let them complain about their school, their teacher. When they come home and complain about something the teacher did, you praise that teacher. You talk about all the good things about that teacher. Don't let babies cry for selfish, rebellious reasons. Your baby should not cry when you put them to bed. If they do, that sin ought to cost them something. My children do not cry when I put them to bed. My children will not cry. When they go from this nursery, which is the baby nursery, and they turn a year old, and they go to that nursery, they hate it. They hate that room. I don't know what it is. And they all cry in there. And my Josiah decided he did not want in that nursery. And he cried. I think he cried for 2 or 3 times I put him in there. But each time I told him, stop. You cannot cry in this nursery. And he does. How many of you have seen me tell him, stop crying, and he stops? He will stop crying. He's not even 2 yet. He will stop crying if he's told to cry because there's consequences. You don't want to keep crying if your mom says. And it's training them to do what they're told to do. And it's teaching them tremendous self-control. You know, most of our problems in life would be solved if we had self-control. If we could do what is right no matter how we felt. Now, he does not feel like going in that nursery. He does not like that nursery, but he will do it without crying. That is self-control, and that's what you want to teach your children. But anyway, teach them to control their tongue. What does that have to do with this? Oh, don't let them cry for selfish reasons. Okay. Number 6, teach them to choose right friends. Proverbs 13:20, he that walketh with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed. Teach them to choose right friends. My children are not allowed to have any friends that are not right with their parents. They're not allowed to have any friends that treat their parents wrong and are not in subjection to their parents and are rebels. They cannot have friends that are like that. They do not have friends who have different standards than we do. Another thing is, what I do when they're little is I find the kids I want them to be friends with, and I encourage those friendships. We invite those kids over. Those are the kids most kids are friends with who they spend most of their time with. So you just pick who you want them to be friends with, and you have those kids over all the time. And you do things with those kids, and that's the kids they'll end up liking. Teach them to be a good steward. Proverbs 21:20. There is treasure to be desired and oil in the dwelling of the wise, but a foolish man spendeth it up. Don't raise a child who's wasteful and has no self-control with money. Teach them to save. Teach them to take care of what they have. Teach your children to take care of furniture, their clothes. They should learn to fold them, hang them up neatly. They should learn to change out of play clothes into out of good clothes into play clothes and work clothes. They should not climb all over the car and get the car all dirty. Josiah knows when his hands are dirty. He sits in a corner in his high chair. The microwave is on one side. There's a curtain behind him. And he knows when his hands are dirty, he's not allowed to touch anything. You cannot touch the microwave. You can't touch the curtain behind you. And I say, look at your hands. Look at your hands. He looks at it and I said, yuck. Yuck, dirty. And he goes, blah, blah, he does that. And I say, don't touch this when your hands are dirty. And then I'll wash his hands, and I say, okay, touch it. And then I let him see your hands are clean, touch it. So I'm teaching him to take care of things. Don't make things dirty. Teach him to take care of themselves, bathe, clean, neat clothes. Number 8, this is the last one, and I'm over. Make sure their mother is not a fool. If you want to raise a child that is not a fool, realize that all these principles apply to you too. All these principles do. And ask God to help you become wise and to be a better mother for them. Okay, every head bowed, every eye closed.